This one's going to add another element of complexity to it, but not a big one, as long as we solve this problem bit by bit by bit. So let's complete the square as our primary tool to solve this particular quadratic expression or quadratic equation. What do we do first? Yeah, you're right. We need to make sure that a leading coefficient is just a 1. It's a 2, so I'm going to divide everything by a 2. So I'll have an x squared minus a x over a 2 plus a 3 equals a 0. To complete the square, I want to have all the x terms isolated. So subtract 3 from both sides. This opens up an opportunity now to find what is that corner piece, that remaining chunk, and I'm going to add it to both sides. So to find that out, I look at the middle coefficient, which is a -1/2, and I want to take half of that because I want to break that rectangle into 2. So I'm going to take half of -1/2, and that produces -1/4. Then I'll take that result and square it, which gives me a 1/16, or 1/16. So I'll add a 1/16 to this side and add a 1/16 to the right side. Just checking, yep, those are the numbers I guess I'm working with. All right, so this side now becomes x minus 1/4 squared, which is the beauty of that. We took a trinomial, turned it into a perfect square trinomial, which allows me to have sides of x minus 1/4, or x minus 1/4 squared. The right side, let's add those together. So -3, got to have it in terms of 16s. And so 16, 60, 32, 32. I don't know what 16 times 3 is to you guys. 48. So I have a -48/16 plus a 1/16, and that equals a -47/16. All right, let me clean that up a little bit so we have an idea where we're going. X minus 1/4 squared equals a -47/16. Not awful numbers, but enough to make it a little tricky. Take the square root of both sides. Equals plus or minus the square root of 47 negative over 16. Add 1/4 to both sides. And you can see I got a couple of issues in that square root. I have a negative, and also I have a square root in the denominator. So if I were just to clean that term on up, that cleans up into a -1 times a -40, or a positive 47 over the square root of 16. Square root of -1 is a negative, or sorry, scratch that, is an I. Square root of 47 all over square root of 16, which is a 4. And then from there, I can go and collect those terms. So I have an x equals a 1/4 plus or minus an I root 47 over a 4. And there's my two solutions for this particular quadratic. Again, there's two solutions, 1/4 plus I root 47 over a 4, and the other solution, 1/4 minus I root 47 over a 4. And you probably notice that these solutions are complex. And so they don't cross the x-axis, but they do work in the complex plane, which we'll introduce at some point in time with you guys.